guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Adiola, and today's video we'll be learning how to take our tape rule reading. Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing today, how to read our tape rule measurements. I feel this tutorial is very essential, and I feel this is like the most important aspect in fashion designing. This is like the primary aspect. Okay? I feel with this, what you need to know in fashion designing, the first thing you need to learn to know how to do is take your tape rule reading, because you're going to be taking your client's measurements, you're going to be drafting your pattern making, you're going to be constructing your garments, okay, or your dresses. So if you omit this part, or if you don't know this part, every other aspect becomes almost impossible. So I feel this is like the most essential part in fashion designing, and there's no how you go into fashion designing without knowing how to read or interpret your measurements. Lots of people are still struggling to know how to take the exact measurements, and this could actually deter you from getting your actual measurements, probably for your clients or for yourself. And in this video, you're going to be conquering your fears. You're going to be facing it once and for all. Okay, you take charge. I need you to take charge, know how to take the proper measurement, because the first thing you need to know is how to take your clients' measurements, their bodies. Okay, you need to know how to take the actual bust measurements, the underbust, the waist. So this is very essential. Even before you move to the pattern making, you need to know this aspect, because this could actually affect your pattern drafting if you don't have the exact figure. So it could deter you from getting the actual measurement, and you could actually run into some challenges, probably when you're constructing or joining your fabric together, and maybe there's shortages probably on the underbust area, the bust area, the waist area. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you all you need to know how to take the exact measurement. And you could have some challenges. You could hear some figures that could throw you off balance. Let's say, like, for instance, 10.105/8, and you'll be wondering what is 10.5/8. Or you could watch a video whereby they'll show you some actual figures, or they'll tell you need to take your measurement, or the measurement is 10.85, and you wonder, how do I take that? Or you hear words like 4/8, 3/4/8, and you're wondering, how will you take that on your tape measurement? Because there's no such thing as 10.5/8 or 3/8. So without further ado, let's move right to the class. So the first thing I'm going to be going quickly over is how to take your measurements on your fabric. So in a fabric, a yard is 36 inches, okay? So in a fabric, a yard is 36 inches. So I wouldn't know if you have the long tape rule or the short one. So if you're using the one of 120 inches, okay? So the first thing you're going to be doing is taking you start from the starting line here, okay? So this is our starting line. You just take it down, okay? Okay, take it down that way from the starting point to 36 inches. So if you need just a yard, so you are there already. So this is your 1 yard. So when you get to your 1 yard, you pull this way. Let's assume your 1 yard ended here. Let's assume your 1 yard ended here. So you're going to be flipping it this way. Then you continue to take that till you get to the last one. But if you're using the long one, the next measurement, the 2 yard, will give you 72 inches. So having said that, the main focus of today's tutorial is on our tape rule reading. All right, so that's the first thing we're going to be looking at. So here I have with me some explanation here. So the first thing we're going to be taking, I have a table representing our tape rule here. Okay, I have a table representing the table, because I'm going to be writing on this, and our tape rule, we can't write on it. All right, so I'm going to be putting some figures here for us to understand with some illustration. All right, so on a tape rule, the longest part in a tape rule is an inch. Okay, so an inch in a tape rule is divided into 4 parts. All right, an inch in the tape rule is divided into 4 parts, but the longest line here, usually an inch. So it could be 7 inches, 8, 9, 9, 10, 11 to get to wherever you want to stop. All right, So the longest part is usually an inch. So it could be 5 inch, 6 inches, 7, 8, and so on. An inch on a tape rule is divided into 4 parts. So we are going to be taking that one by one. So the first part is 1/4. Okay, the second part is ½ inch. So the first part is 1/4 of an inch, the second part is ½ inch, the third part is 3/4 of an inch, and the fourth part is an inch or 10 inches, however you want to have it. I have a table here representing our tape measurement. So this is my starting point here. I have my starting point and I have it up to 36 inches, which is a yard of the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to be putting some figures here for us to actually understand what we mean. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is, so exactly as it is what I have. Okay, so this is my 1 inch, exactly what I have here. All right, so you can see that. So it's exactly the same thing that we have. Okay, so you can see it's exactly the same thing. So I have it up to 36 inches. So I'm going to be putting some figures here for us to understand, because you know in our tape we can't write on it. So the first thing we're going to be taking is the first one, which is 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so you could see some videos, or you could see me mentioning, or probably somebody telling you 10 5/8 or 11 3/8, and you start wondering what does that mean. And you know, cases like that could make someone go off balance, and you'll be so confused and you won't even know what to do next, and you'll be wondering, how do we determine fractions? Okay, so there is a trick to it. In our tape rule, there are 8 parts in it. So some people actually make use of fractions and not use points or go directly. Okay, some people actually make use of the quarter, the ½ inch, the 3/4, but you could see cases where they tell you 10 6/8, 9 3/8, and you start wondering, how do we do that? Okay, so in your tape rule, okay, so there are 8 parts in your tape rule measurements. So these are the 8 parts. So this is 1 part, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, this is 7, this is 8. Okay, so I'm going to be showing that closer. So this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm going to be showing that closer. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that's been said. So since there are 8 parts, so if you hear figures like 3/8, so how do we get that? This is 1 2 3. That is how to get 3/8. Okay, so I'm going to be putting that here right now. So this is, let's say 3/8. We are on 3 inches already. So this is 3 inches. So this is 1 2 3. So that's 3/8. Because in our tape rule, you know, we can't really measure fraction. Okay, I said there are 4 parts to our tape rule reading, right? So now to get to know what 2/8 means. Okay, so the first thing we are taking is 2/8. That's 1/4 of an inch. So now we have 1 2. So this is 2, and it is in 8 parts. So once you divide 2/8, if you break it further, you know, our fractions, don't be scared. You know, some people still struggle with figures, or when they see figures they get scared, but don't worry, this is pretty easy. In our fraction, if you go further to divide your 2/8, if you say 2 here to 2 here 1, it will give you 1/4. If you get 1/4, you can actually go to your calculator. Okay, then you divide 1/4 by 2. If you do that, you have 0.25, so which is also referred to as 1/4 of an inch. To get our 0.24, maybe you need to take your client's waist measurements, and there is 1/4 of an inch to it. Probably you took their waist, and their waist is 30 1/4 of an inch, and you start wondering, how do I determine 30 1/4 of an inch? Okay, so do not worry. So I have my measurement here with me, from 0 to 36. That is exactly a yard of a fabric or anything you're doing. Okay, so to take our waist, which we said 30 1/4 of an inch, so this is our 30. So since we've divided this into 1 over 4, so you can break that further. Your calculator, then you divide 1 over 4, it will give you 0.25. So this is where our 0.25 is, because this is on the second part when you have to do it over 8. Okay, this is the first, this is the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. So the second one here is the 2 over 8. So that will give you your quarter of an inch. So if you have a measurement of waist 30 quarter of an inch, okay, so this is where the quarter is. So anything you see here is usually the quarter. The longest part in your tape rule measurements is an inch. It could be 30, like this one now. This is 31 inches, this is 30, this is 29, this is 28, and so on and so forth. So anything you see after the longest part here, the next one after the longest part is usually the half inch, but we're going to go back to that later on after taking our quarter of an inch. But now our concentration, our focus is the quarter of an inch. So anything you see here after the longest one, the next line is usually the quarter of an inch. Okay, we could have cases where you hear let's say 2 over 8. Okay, our line is on 3 now. This is 1, 1, 2. So this is 3/4 of an inch. That is 3.25. Okay, the next one we're going to be taking now is half inch. So on this line here on 6, this is 6.5, because half of all of this now is the half. So anything after the longest line, the next one is the half inch. So anything you see here, the shorter one is usually the half inch. And again, if you see me saying, or you see a video saying, let's say 4/8. Okay, so we are on 6 now. So let's put that down here. So we are on 6 inches. So we want to get 4/8. Then again, how we did the first one, you can break it further. Okay, you can break this further. This is 4/8. So you can break this. 2 here will give you 2, 2 here will give you 4. You can also actually break it further again. So it will give you 1 over 2. When you break 4/8 further, it will give you 1 over 2. Then when you take your calculator and you calculate this, if you divide 1 divided by 2, it will give you 0.5. So what do we mean by 0.5? Let's see cases whereby you have to take your client's measurements on your pattern making. Okay, you want to take let's say a bust of 15.5. okay, so now let's move on to 15 inches. So this is our 15. Then now you need to take half of it. So you could see a video, or you could see cases where you hear 15 4/8 or 15 1/2. So it's actually 15.5. okay, so this is the line for that. Okay, for 15.5, this is it. This is your 15.5, because after the 15, this is your half inch. And again, you can do it this way. This is 1 2 3 4. Okay, so this is 1 2 3 4. And remember, we said the fourth line is usually the half inch. The fourth line is usually the half inch. So if you divide it by 8, since it's over 8, since everything here is over 8, if you divide it further, okay, this will give you 2 over 4. Then 2 over 4, if you divide it further, will give you 1 over 2. So that's half of an inch. So this is where your 15.5 is. So that is how to determine that. Is equivalent, is the same thing. Don't get confused. So this is 15.5. So that is how to determine half of an inch. Then quickly we move to the next one, which is the 3/4 of an inch, or 0.75, or 3/4. Okay, so now the next example, let's say for instance you want to take a neck measurement or a shoulder measurement. Okay, let me use that example. Your shoulder, let's say the human shoulder is 10 3/4 of an inch. So how do we determine 10 3/4 of an inch? Okay, so we are on the 10th line here. So this is the 10th line. Then the 3/4 of an inch is, remember we said there are 8 parts, so you do the same thing. So this is the 10th. This is 1 2 3 4 5 6. So this is the 6th line. And you know you can break 6/8 further. Okay, It's easy, don't worry, it's easy. So all you need to do is you divide this by 2, so it will give you 3. You divide this by 2, this will give you 4. And you can't divide 3/4 any further, okay? You can't break it down. So all you need to do is take your calculator, then you divide 3/4, it will give you 0.75. So anything that has this is usually 3/4 of an inch. Anything that has 7.5 at the back, so it could be 8.875. okay? So this 0 here can represent anything. It can represent 10. So when you have 10.75, okay, let's take for instance you have 10.75. This is our 10 inches here. Then 10.75 will be on this line. Okay, so it will give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this is the 6th line. Okay, this is the 6th line. So if you divide it any further, to give you 0.75. So anything you see after this one, this line is usually 0.75. So this is our 10.75. So anytime you see 10 3/4 of an inch, this is how to determine it. All right, because it's on the 6th line. So that is even the easiest. You don't even need to go any further. You hear words like 10.75, you just know this is where you're saying. Or let's say you have 29.75. okay, this is the 29th line. So this is our 29, so this is our 0.75. So it's pretty easy to determine 3/4 of an inch. So anytime you see a word, you know, the first one is 0.25, so that's 1/4 of an inch, okay? But the next one is 0.75, so that's 3/4. Okay, let's say for 23 inches or 25 inches, let me state that 3/4 of an inch or 25 inches. Okay, so this is our 25 inches, so this is our 25.75. so it's that easy. Okay, so this is our 25.75 or 25 3/4 of an inch. Then the next one is an inch. Okay, so the 1 inch, so in our pattern here, so this is 1 inch here in our tape rule paper. Okay, in our tape rule paper, this is 1 inch, this is 2 inches, 3, 4, 5. So that is the next line. So this inch, okay, is divided into 4 parts. So then these are the ways in which you can understand or interpret your tape rule reading. Remember the first one, 1/4 or 3/4 of an inch or 2/8 or 0.25. So if you have, let's say, 4.25, okay, so where is our 4.25? So our 4.25 is usually here. Okay, 5.25 is here, 6.25 is here, 7.25 is here. So usually this line here. Now we're going to be taking real life examples, okay, real life illustration. So I have here with me some measurements here. So now we are going to be taking our measurements. So let's just assume that we have our pattern. Probably we're about to draft a pattern. You took your client or yourself, you took your measurements, and now you want to impute that in your pattern making, probably in your skirts or in your blouse or in your dress. So now I have some examples here. So now we're going to be working with this using our tape rule paper to determine where these figures will be. So the first thing is our bust 35.5. So once you divide that by 4, that will give us 8.875. okay, so now we are on 8 inches now. So I'm going to be taking that on our paper. Okay, so this is our starting line. So this is our 8 inches. All right, so we are on our 8 inches line. Then we're looking for 8.875. And remember we said this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so our 8.75, if we have to approximate that, that will give us almost 8.9. So we're almost on the 9 inches. So now to determine our 8.875, okay, so this is 8.8 inches, this is 8.5, 8.6, 8.7. So our 8.8 is on this line here. Okay, is in the middle of this. But if you have to approximate it, so your 8.875 is actually at the middle of this line here. Okay, or you can actually put it here, but if you have to approximate it, it's going to be on this particular line. So that will be 8.9. and you know after 8.9 the next line line is 9 inches. Okay, so that is how to actually determine that, because we have the 8 points. So you can actually put it here, you could still work here or the middle of this part. But if you have to approximate this, okay, you can have cases where you just approximate it if you want to, if you don't want to use the decimal point. So you just put it here, so that will give us 8.9, because after 8.9 the next line is 9 inches. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So the next one we're going to be taking is our underbust. So our underbust is 29.9 divided by 4. So next one is 7.3. So let me just input where our 8.875 is on the paper, so we can actually see that. So our 8.875 is here. Okay, so I'm on the, so this is 8.875. So it's on this line here. Okay, it's on this line that I wrote on. So the next one is 7.3. Okay, so I have my paper here. So this is our 7 inches already. Now to determine our 7.3, remember our 8 apartments that I said our tape row is divided into. So this is the first one. I remember this is 7.25. So our 7.3 is very close to our 7.25. Remember this is 7, so this is 7.25. Okay, this is the 2. So our 7.375 is here. Okay, because this is 1, 2, 3. So this is 7.5. Okay, so our 7.375 is somewhere at this part. Okay, is somewhere at this, I don't know if you can see that. Our this is 7.25. So our 7.375 is in this middle part. Okay, because this less 9 is 7.5, so this is 7.4. So our 7.35 is closer to 7.4. Okay, so it's usually at this middle part. So I'm going to be putting that here in the paper so we can see. So our 7.35 is here. 7.375. Next one is our underbust. I have another measurement on the bust here. So this is me taking different figures just for you to get. So this is some aspect that a lot of people still struggle to know because they are confused. So the next one is the underbust. So we have 29.5 divided by 2. We have 14.75. They're going to be going to 14 points. Okay, so this is 14 inches. So our 14.75. I remember I said here that anything that has 7.5 is usually 3/4 of an inch. So this should be pretty easy. This is our 14.75. Okay, this is that line. So anything here is usually 0.75. Okay, this is 16.75, 17.75, 18.75, 19.75, 20. So it's pretty easy. So to get our 14.75, so this is where it is. So this is 14.75. So it's that easy to get. So the last one is a waist. So this one is pretty easy. We have a waist 30 by 4. Once you divide that by 4, you have 7.5. So we go to the line of our 7 inches. So this is 7 inches here. So this is our 7.5. Okay, this is 7.5. This is pretty easy to get. Our 7.5, 9.5. So I said anything after the longest one is usually the ½ inch. Okay, so anything after the longest one, then anything after the ½ inch is usually 1/4 of an inch or 3/4 of an inch. But the first one is usually 1/4 of an inch. Then the next one after the ½ inch is usually the 3/4 of an inch. So I hope with this video this has been helpful. If you have any question, put it in the comment section. Share with your friends, those that are still struggling, or those that they just start learning on the internet or on YouTube, but they didn't go through this proper. I feel this is very important. You have to struggle with your pattern. It could actually cause a lot of arguments between you and your client, and your client might actually feel probably you don't know what you're doing. Okay,